Hello and welcome to another tutorial from CamiPaige Boutique. I'm Brooke Tannehill and today I'm going to show you how I made this Milky Way Galaxy Peekaboo custom epoxy tumbler. As always, all the products I used will be listed in the description below, and you may even find a coupon code or two that saves you some coin. Also, come join our exclusive Facebook group where you can take advantage of upcoming freebies and giveaways that you aren't going to want to miss. So without further hesitation, let's go ahead and get started. For this design, I'm using a 20-ounce straight skinny, and it is fully prepped before moving into paint. This is Smooth Jazz from Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk paint. I love this as a base layer because it covers the stainless so well and it's self-leveling, so you don't see any of the paint strokes as you go through your design. So here I'm going to do one quick coat, making sure that it's nice and evenly coated. Then I'm going to use my heat gun to dry it really fast. Even without the heat gun, this paint dries in about 10 or 15 minutes, but since I was doing this cup on a live, I went ahead and just used my heat gun to speed up the process. Once I was happy with those two coats, we were ready to move into applying our glitters. For my Milky Ways, I like to use the Epoxy Method to apply my glitter just because it gives me a lot longer working time than Mod Podge or some of the other adhesives. So I will mix up about 10 milliliters of epoxy and just apply a nice thin coat over the entire surface of the cup. I let this sit for about 1 to 2 minutes, and because epoxy is also self-leveling, it will get out all the streakiness that may or may not be there from applying the epoxy over the entire surface of the cup. Once it's set, it is time to start to do our swirl of the Milky Way. Once the epoxy is ready, I start in with this swirl for my Milky Way. So the strategy that I use for my Milky Way is I like to start and stop the swirl in a straight line on my cup. So you'll see it in just a second. I like both ends to be in the same spot. And that way I feel like it's a deep enough swirl that goes around the cup that really creates that visual interest of a Milky Way that I prefer when I'm doing this. You could also do this on a turner. If you do it on a turner with your swirls, you're gonna get definitely more even lines, but I kind of like the organic look of this because I didn't want it to look perfect because it is supposed to give that Milky Way appearance. So I started with Lapis Dream, or just a navy blue and silver mix glitter, and I laid down that first band that you see there, and then I am coming in with Lavender Burst right next to it. So the thing that makes Milky Way cups successful is varying the textures, the cuts, and the colors of your glitters to really add depth. So one of the hacks that I also do, and I showed this at the beginning, is I like to paint my Milky Ways all one color. I do this because it really pulls all of the colors together and it allows you to really seem to have that seamless approach with the colors and that they all go together. So that right there is Lilac Dreams, and that is a chunkier glitter that I'm laying down next to it. So you can see that the different textures that I'm getting since I'm using multiple cuts of glitter and different mixes. Then I come in with Fantasia. Now this is a teal with a holographic silver in it, and I like this because even though it's a different color than the other glitters that we're using, over that lavender base you can see that it really kind of pulls that silver, or the silver reflects that light purple color. So I'm also doing various widths of the glitter so that way it's not perfect, because again, we want that kind of whimsical organic feel with the stripes so that it's not perfect. And then I finish it off with Blossom that you see right there, and I'm just filling in any of the space that hasn't been covered, and then just making sure that the butt has perfect coverage as well. I let that glitter dry for about 45 minutes to an hour, spray sealed it with Rust-Oleum clear glass spray paint, and then did 2 coats of Artistry's 1-to-1 Fast Set to get it smooth to this point. Once those 2 coats had been completely dry, I moved in with another coat of about 20 milliliters of the Artistry 1-to-1 Fast Set that you see here. And so you want to make sure that you have an epoxy layer underneath your micas before you do this step. So each of the mica colors that you see, I just put 10 milliliters of epoxy separately in these medicine cups. And so I'm doing a black, a deep purple, a navy blue, and a white that you'll see. And so what I like to do is to kind of lay out where my colors are going to be. So I like to follow kind of the seams or the placements in between the 2 glitter colors. So I did 2 stripes for the black. I'm doing 1 of the purple, and then I'm doing 1 of the navy blue because I wanted the black to be the primary since it's supposed to be a Milky Way. And then I just used the white kind of glitzy mica here to add some details and different placements and kind of blend the colors together, making sure that I'm not adding too much mica to where it would hide the beautiful glitter underneath. Once I was happy with the mica placement, I grabbed a paper towel and I made sure to have like a clean gloved finger. And I'm using the pad of my finger to really smooth out those lines of the mica. And when my hand goes off screens where you can't see it, what I'm doing is I'm actually wiping the excess color off on a paper towel. And this way I don't get a bunch of contamination, and I'm also kind of controlling how much mica is on the cup, because I feel like one of the things that makes or breaks Milky Ways is how you do your mica swirls, because you don't want them to take over to where you're missing all of the beautiful depth and layers that you see here. So just go back and forth until you're happy with your coverage. You can always add more mica if you feel like you've taken too much off, and you can just kind of maneuver through the different stripes until you're happy with it. Once I was really happy with like the way my Milky Way was coming out, I grabbed a holographic silver and I kind of just sprinkled it here and there over the mica swirls. And the reason why I did this was not to take away from the glitter below, but make it look like there's those little pops of like stars that you see in a typical galaxy. And actually what ended up happening is, from doing this, it really feel like the holographic silver pulled from the glitter colors underneath and just added an amazing layer of depth to the overall cup that I think was a really nice added detail. Once that coat was dry, I moved into another coat of the Artistry 101 Fast Set, let that dry, and then it was time to go into sanding. So here what I'm using is a 120 grit flap wheel on my Dremel, and the flap wheel is also the Dremel brand as well. But I am just going through and removing that top kind of edge of epoxy and glitter to kind of expose that stainless steel below. And what this does is allows for my next layers of epoxy to adhere to something, and it also helps for my peekaboo paint to lay down nice and flat. I also went into some additional sanding. Then it was time to apply our decals. The SVG for these stars will be on the CamiPaige Boutique website, but this is just a design that I created that allowed for a space for the decal to shine through. So you can see that there is a spot where there's no stars, but I just apply the stars every which way. You can do it this way, like you do like a vinyl wrap, or you can just pull them off and apply them where you would like. But I just make sure that I apply the vinyl, make sure it's nice and pushed down, because you don't want any spots where the vinyl isn't attached to the cup, because that would cause the spray paint to get underneath it, and it's just not cute. So make sure to take your time and that these are all nice and pushed down. And then once I was happy with the placement, I took it outside and I coated the whole cup with black spray paint, and then I did a swirl with white for that added bit of detail, and then like little kind of spritzes of white every which way. So you can see there how that came out and how I kind of randomly but purposefully also did this white spray paint. And then what I'm doing is I am using the Intense Inks from the Krafty cow, and they're listed below in the description. But I think you can see, like, I just put these smallest little dots on the, so I use magic erasers. These are the cheap off-brand from Amazon, and I absolutely love these things because they don't get the fibers in the alcohol inks like Q-tips or cotton balls do. So I'll use three kind of pads or whatever. One has the pink, one has the purple, and then one is just pure alcohol. And I just blend the colors together until I'm happy. Now, you don't have to keep them just in the white area where the spray paint is. If you venture over into the black, what you'll see is that you'll get a little bit of color variation, but it will lend itself to kind of like the gases and the different color depths that you have with typical galaxies out in the universe. So just play with it until you're happy. There's no right or wrong on this step, but you'll see that like the more you play with the colors, you're really going to get that just nice detail that just really lends itself to the overall Milky Way galaxy look out there. One thing I want to call out that it's super important to seal your alcohol inks, especially when they're this pigmented, because if you don't, when you go into your coats of epoxy, a lot of that color will go away. So what I like to do is I will come in with Krylon Camar varnish first. So I just mist it up in the air and let it fall onto the cup. Then I will come in with Krylon's Triple Thick to seal it even more. And then I will do a coat of Rust-Oleum's Clear Gloss Spray Paint because I have a problem with Krylon repelling epoxy. I don't know why, but that's how I really make sure to seal my alcohol inks and get that vibrant color that you start with when you're applying them here. So I will list all of that in the description below so that you guys can follow and do do it if you feel inclined to get that vibrant color, but I really found that that helped with my alcohol inks to make sure that they're so vibrant and that you don't lose out on any of that pigmentation when you go into your final coats of epoxy. Since I was live and the ladies were dying to see what the peekaboo looked like, I did pull the vinyl before I sealed my alcohol inks, which is completely fine. Like, don't worry about it if this is what you decide to do as well. But I am using a dental pick, and this specific one is from the very lovely Miss Linda. I love her so much. But she recommended that I try the dental pick because I feel like it's really, really perfect for peekaboos because I have more control over pulling up the vinyl and it doesn't scratch my paint like some of the other tools that are out there. So I'll link one that I found on Amazon that's really similar to the one I have, but I highly recommend the dental picks for doing the peekaboos with this level of like paint and alcohol ink and detail in your design. Trust me, you're never gonna wanna go back to anything else. Once all my alcohol inks were sealed, I did go into a coat of Fast Set again, and I typically don't show every time I put epoxy on the cup, but I wanted to explain why. There had been a couple of times when I had tried to apply decals or different like vinyl details to a cup without a coat of epoxy over my alcohol inks or like painted finishes, and it ended up destroying my cup. So I recommend going into a coat of epoxy after you've done all your alcohol inks and pulled the star decals, because I've really found that that sets up the next layers of the cup for success. So I just doing a thin coat. I think this is about maybe 10, 12, 15 milliliters, like just a super thin coat, just to lock in all of that beautifulness that you see there. And then that way we have a nice smooth surface to go in with our decals. And since we were doing a coat of epoxy anyway, I did grab my torch, made sure I got a nice, smooth, glass-like finish, and then I picked up a holographic silver glitter again and just sprinkled it primarily in the black section. So you can see there. And what I wanted this to mimic was really like the stars in the galaxy, because they shine bright even in the darkness, which is what lends itself to the decal that was chosen. And I also made sure to keep my epoxy glove on. And the reason why, as you can see it there, is because sometimes when you sprinkle, it doesn't go the way you want it. But I also wanted to make sure just to kind of spread out the stars, quote unquote, to give great coverage that really alluded to the stars overall. So I let that dry. I did go in with another super thin coat of epoxy, and then it was time to do our decals. So Nick ran off with my stand for my ultimate tool guide. So that is just the horizontal guide for my decal. I set it on the cup to make sure that I have it nice and straight. As you can see there, this is a 3-layer vinyl decal, and I will list the vinyl below. It's all from Vinyl Fun, which is a local shop here. But I just love the way these colors all play together. So there's a purple and there's an amethyst metallic vinyl, and I just alternated between the two to really get the offsets for the stars. I tried to make sure that the two colors weren't right by each other, but I just wanted to come through and add these details as the offsets. Also, you want to make sure that you are using a clear transfer tape, because it allows you to get these lined up a lot easier. But just take your time, make sure that you get them in the place that you like, and lay them down. And then once all the vinyl was taken care of, I did move in with a coat of Quick Seal from Artistry Epoxy. It is their brand new like polyacrylic and polyurethane coat for vinyl and decals. Then I went in with 2 final coats of epoxy, and this baby was done. I absolutely love how this cup turned out. It completely surpassed my expectations, and I really needed this decal for the time in my life that and just some stuff that I'm dealing with. So I hope this is inspirational and that you absolutely love it as much as I do. I hope this tutorial inspires you, and I can't wait to see what you create. If you have any questions about any of the steps or information, please feel free to reach out and I'll be more than happy to help. As always, thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me. If you like this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see future videos. You can also ring the bell so you're notified of future cup making goodies. Thank you again. I love you guys. Bye.